Dear student, welcome again to the part 5, that is organizing. In the earlier part of this particular topic, that is organizing, we have thoroughly discussed about the concept of organizing. We have an idea about its span of management, and we have learned about the Gracchus theory of span of management. Within that, we have a clear-cut understanding of what should be the optimum size of the subordinates working within a superior. We have discussed about the various factors which are very much important for the purpose of determining the organizational structure. We have insight about the merits and demerits of the organizing, as well as what are the different processes involved. In the module 24, we will be extending our discussion on the topic organizing, and in this current module we will be trying to understand about the meaning of centralization, advantages of centralization, decentralization of authority, advantages of decentralization, and disadvantages of centralization. So our standing will be with respect to the two important concepts. One is centralization and another is your decentralization. Okay, so moving beyond, what is centralization of authority? Centralization of authority refers to the concentration of decision making power at the top level. So in an organization, there will be for smooth functioning of all the operation within the organization, there will be two mechanisms which are used by the manager. One mechanism will be they are keeping all the authority, all the power at the central level, or we can say at the top level of the management. Whereas on the other hand, the other mechanism is you are dispersing or sharing all the responsibilities or the authorities to the different middle level and the supervisory level. So an important question arises, what are the criteria or what are the different kind of factors upon which the centralization and decentralization will prevail? So in this particular module, we'll be trying to answer this question, which type of the organization centralization will be more favorable, and within which type of the organization decentralization will be more favorable, or what are the different situations under which the manager will be keeping the authority to themselves, and under which situation they will be assigning or sharing their authority at the supervisory level. Okay, but before that, understand the concept of centralization. As you can see, the definition by Allen defined centralization is the systematic and consistent reservation of authority at the central point in an organization. So it is a systematic, it means it is a formal thing, or it is based on certain systems or certain processes. Okay, and it is a reservation of authority. It means all the authority, the power is at the central point in the organization. Okay, so all the instructions, all the orders, all the guidelines of the activities to be performed will be done by the central authority or at the top level of the management. So it is the reservation of the authority at the higher level. Second is, manager at the lower level just have to execute the decision taken by the top level managers. Okay, so the administration will be reserving all the powers, and your supervisory the lower level managers, they will be just playing the role of the executors. Whatever the orders, instructions are given by the top level manager, it is the duty of the supervisory level to just implement all the activities, or they are just into the execution part. Third one, it is suitable for a small organization. Like a small company is there, the operation is small, all the managers are knowing each other. Okay, Everyone knows about the behavior of all the staffs working in an organization. Okay, the operation is less. So in that particular situation, the managers or the top level managers, they will be concentrating their authority to themselves. Why? Because there is less number of activities are there, and they can devote time, and they will be communicating with the middle level and the supervisory level managers for the smooth functioning of the activities. So we understood that in a small organization, centralization will be more applicable, and we know the reason for it as well, because they can communicate, all the managers at all the levels, they can communicate on a daily basis. So there will be clarity of the work. So there is no need to share the authority to the supervisory level. As opposite, if the manager or the company is very big, the number of operation complexity of the operation is too much. The company is operating their businesses at a different spectrum or the different clusters. One with, for example, the office could be in Delhi, one of these could is in Bangalore, one is in Uttar Pradesh, and another office is at, for example, in UK. Okay, now there are too many activities to be performed. In that situation, it will be difficult for the manager to control all the activities at the different geographical locations. In that scenario, it will be better to decentralize the authority. It means sharing the authority at others levels as well. For what purpose? For the purpose of synchronization of all the activity. So this is the concept of the centralization of authority. Once again, centralization of authority, it means reservation of the power at the central level. Okay, moving beyond, what are the advantages that the company will be having if they are like using the centralization as a method for keeping the authority at the top level? Okay, now very first one is the it facilitates leadership. It is, as we know, that it is better to have the centrality of the authority at the smaller organizations. Okay, so it will be better for the employees that, or the managers who is reserving all the powers, that they will be learning so many things. Okay, like how the decisions are taken. Okay, singularity of the decision is also very important. Like if a budding entrepreneur or budding manager is reserving all the authority to themselves, okay, so he will be or she will be facing so many challenges. All right, so this will bring efficiency in the leadership of the manager. So for the from the perspective of the manager, centrality of the authority at the top level is like helpful in bringing the efficiency of the manager. Second is promote consistency in the policy and action. It means like whenever the top manager is reserving the authority to themselves, so it will be like all the subordinates will be following a consistent guidelines, norms, policies, okay, or any kind of action to be done. It will be a uniform thing, or there will be consistency, because few persons at the top level management, they are like devising all the activities, or they are formulating all the guidelines. So there will be no point of differences in terms of the way the activities should be performed. Okay, suppose hypothetically we can take one example. In an organization, suppose 500 employees are working at the different departments, at the different divisions, and top 10 employees or the top management consists of only 10 employees. They are reserving all the authorities. They are not sharing the authority to the each levels. Okay, or the command that they are issuing, all the 500 employees, they have to like follow. So there is chance that the top 10 employees or the top 10 managers, they will be like in a group, they will be deciding all the guidelines, and those guidelines will be very much uniform for all the 500 employees. So this will promote consistency in the policies and the action as well. Allows for the integration. Now, since the policies or the guidelines, instructions, orders, there is a uniformity in all these aspects. So there will be integration of all the activities. Okay, it means the top manager is viewing the organization from a singular perspective. So there will be a uniformity in the operation at all the levels. So this brings integration of efforts within the all the departments and within the employees. Okay. Next is better handling of emergency. So the manager, when they are keeping all the authority themselves, and any kind of odd situation or any kind of challenges being faced by the management because of the change in the external factors. All right, just take an example. Suddenly there is a economic crisis in a country because of any factor, because of the international market situations. There is a rapid downfall of the growth of the market or the growth of the economy. Okay, now this will be ultimately influencing the performance of the companies, not one companies, all the companies in the sector. Okay, so this could be an alarming situation for the companies, or the manager has to take the crucial decision within shorter period of time. So those companies who will be taking the good decisions and prompt decisions, they will be like leading the market. So imagine a situation like there is decentralization of authority in that scenario. It means that all the managers are having at the different department, at the different supervisory level, they are having the authority to take the decisions. So there will be delay in decision making, there will be clutter in decision making. But instead, if the authority is at the top level, this will bring quickness of decision making in the emergency situations. Okay, so whenever the managers or the company has to take quick decision making or quality of decision making, in that situation your centralization is more applicable. Next is reduced cost of operation. It means like when you are like following one instructions or uniformity in the instructions, this will bring the overall cost to be lower. Okay, so overall, as you can see in this slide, these are some points which goes for the favorable points for the centralization. Okay, now moving beyond, with any kind of advantages comes some certain limitations as well. Now we have seen the centralization is like very good for the company, like all the powers, all the decisions which are taken are very good decisions. Okay, the costs are reduced, quickness of decisions. So these are some of the benefit for the organization. However, because of those factors, like other thing can also be hampered. Now very first one is increases the burden of the manager. So sometimes the managers, when they are reserving all the authority together at one place, this will bring so much of activities to the manager. The manager is reserving all the powers. At the same time, we have understood the concept. The more and more authority you will be having, more and more responsibility will also come. Okay, so this will increases the burden or the activities to be performed by the manager. Now what will happen if too much of activity will be performed by the top manager? We have studied in the earlier sessions that the top level manager is more oriented towards your conceptual decisions. Okay, but since they are reserving the authority at one place, they are taking more of like technical decision and human decision. Now these are the part of your supervisory level, and this is your top level. So it's better that the manager should share the responsibility and focus on the conceptual part of the decision making, which is with respect towards understanding the external environmental factors. Okay, like what is the recent change in the technology, how the consumers are showing their perception towards the company, okay, how the growth of the market or the growth of the company can be done. So these are some of the crucial factor, and it requires more and more time and intellect power, which the top level manager should be focusing upon, rather than performing the technical or the human activities or human skills for the manager. Next is like least development of lower power. So when the manager is focusing or emphasizing on the technical skill as well, the human skill as well as the conceptual skills, you are like showing less confidence towards your supervisory level. Okay, now you do not share any kind of authority, and you are not showing the true side or the efficiency side of the supervisory level. So this will ultimately lower the efficiency of your supervisory. It will lower the efficiency of your supervisory level. Next is delay in decision making. Sometimes it may be that few segment of the managers are reserving the authority. All right. So ultimately, all the activities are dependent upon the instructions order by the top manager. Now the top manager is more oriented towards like day-to-day activities as well, because they are having the burden of the activities, and this will ultimately delay the decision making, because the manager is not able to focus on the conceptual skills, and because of which they are taking too much of time for any kind of like new decisions or any kind of significant decision for the companies. Next is the problem of effective communication. Now, since the authority is reserved at one place at the top level management, so ultimately the lower level managers and the supervisory level, they will be feeling disoriented, and they will not be contributing much, because lack of confidence will be there, because they do not have the authority, and because of which they will be like discontinuation, or there will be like miscoordination between all the level of the managers. Okay, because they do not interact on regular basis. They are just like executing. They are into the executive part. Okay, they are just executing the tasks or the orders given by the top level managers. So there will be less interaction, and this will be creating the problem of the communication between the all levels of the managers. So with this, we have seen the limitation of the centralization as well. Now in the centralization, we have understood about the nature, or what is centralization, okay, what the benefit the manager will be getting, and what are the problems with the centralization. Now moving beyond the other side of the dimension of the organization, which is decentralization. Decentralization is just the opposite of the centralization, where the managers is sharing the authority with the supervisory level. Okay, so when the complexity of the activities are there, when the size of the company is increasing, and it is not feasible for the top level manager to control all the activities together, they follow the principle of decentralization. It means they will be sharing the authority with the different supervisory level, so that that task or the big task will be completed within the time frame. Okay, so with this we try to understand the concept of the decentralization. According to Allen, decentralization of authority refers to the systematic delegation of authority throughout all level of the management. Okay, we have understood in the last module about the concept of delegation of authority. Delegation of authority means sharing the authority to the subordinates. Okay, so decentralization is based on the principle of delegation of authority. So it is a delegation of authority throughout the level of the management, except which can be exercised at the central point, except for those departments or for those group of people who directly come under the purview of the central or the central point, means the top level managers. Okay, so it is just the opposite of your centralization. Second is Henry Fayol. Henry Fayol, the person who propounded the 14 principles of the management, that is the administrative theory. He also defined decentralization as everything that goes to increase the importance of the subordinate's role is decentralization. All right. So whenever the subordinates point of view is taken into the consideration, or whenever the subordinates role are there and their importance is talked about in the organization, it is called as the decentralization. All right. So these are some of the features. Like in decentralization of authority is passed on the chain of command. Just like the delegation, what we have discussed in the delegation of authority, it will flows from top to bottom. However, the responsibility and accountability will flow from bottom to top. So decentralization authority is passed on the chain of command. Okay, chain of command will be like from the top to bottom. Second is, this is the first one. Second one, decentralization take place without dispersal of the facilities, and dispersal of the facility can take place without the decentralization. Okay. Third one is with respect to decentralization is suitable for large organization. It means we have discussed the centralization is suitable for the small organization, whereas whenever the operation is too large, okay, the location upon which the companies are working are varied location. One could be at the metro cities and one could be at the international level as well. So in that situation, the manager will not be able to take the decision at the central level. So you need to share the authority for the purpose of decision making. Okay, so in brief, we can understand centralization is the reservation of the authority at the top level. Decentralization is the delegation of authority at the supervisory level. This is the main difference. Discussing the next part is the advantages of the decentralization. Very first one is your relief to the top management. Like just like in the advantages or the limitation of the centralization, what was the first limitation? It increases the burden of the management. Okay, so decentralization will be like easing the activities of the top level because they are sharing the authority. It means their responsibilities are also shared. Now they can focus upon the big decisions related to the conceptual skills, like how the business can grow up, what are the contemporary situation in the external factors, what are the new technology that the competitors are adopting. These are the most important aspect, because whatever you do internally, if you are not able to manage the external factors, your internal factor will not be able to compete with the external dynamics. Second one is the quick decision making. Since the activities are spread out, now the supervisory level are able to take the decisions because they have the authority given by the top management. So this will like accelerate the quick decision making within the organization. Next is growth of the company. Since your top management is busy with the key decision making or the taking the conceptual decisions, okay, your supervisory and the lower level managers are more oriented towards taking the technical decisions. So overall, you will see that the important operations are divided within the levels of the management. So this will bring efficiency, and ultimately the growth of the company will be there. Better supervision and control. Okay, so once the authority is shared with the different levels of the management, the manager or the top level manager will be like checking the accountability about the performance which has been done. Okay, and it will bring efficiency within the organization. The top level manager will see what are the standards which has been set at the planning stage we have discussed, and what is the overall outcome, what is the real result. So this will be a controlling technique, and this will be bringing the efficiency within the management. All right, next is the communication. Since more and more interaction will be there with the top level or at the all levels of the management, okay, because they share the authority to the different levels. Now they will be sharing of the accountability, responsibility as well. The lower level management will be like discussing any kind of problem with the top level manager. All right, and this will be enhancing their communication. Next is development of talent for the future. When you are entrusting your supervisory level, the middle level, the various VP or the vice president of the departmental heads, okay, this will increases the morale of the employees, because they feel that the authority is shared with them because they are competent enough to get the authority. So this will become a motivational thing for the employee, and ultimately their talent will also increase. At the same time, it develop initiative among the subordinates. Initiative terms we have discussed in one of the principles of the Henry Fayol. What was that? Initiative means like you are considering the all levels of the employee for the decision making. When the lower level manager is given the opportunity to take key decisions in the management, this will highly increase the morale of the employee. So ultimately, your decentralization will give them authority to take key decisions in the operations. Okay, so this will bring the motivational factor for them. And last one is the democratic management. Democratic management means the term democracy. What does it mean? Like within a country, all the citizens are equal. Okay, the same principle is followed in the organization as well. It means like you are treating all the employee equal. All the employees is given some kind of authority for the completion of their day-to-day activities. This will bring efficiency within the employee, and they will feel that they are the part of the organization. Okay, so these are some of the advantages of the centralization, and quickly we'll be discussing about some of the disadvantages or the limitation. Lack of coordination, very first one, because too many authorities are shared, too many departments are created. Okay, so there will be clutter or overlapping of activities sometimes. Okay, this is for this reason proper organization is or proper organizing system should be implemented. So more authority you are sharing with the lower level manager, it's the duty of the manager or the top level to make sure that there will be proper implementation of the coordination as well. But sometimes it does not happen. So very first problem that they will be encounter, there will be lack of coordination, lack of uniformity. What we have discussed about the advantages of centralization, it means there will be uniformity in the policies, because one person or the one small group of person is deciding all the guidelines for the activities. Now you have shared the authority with the different levels. It means now each division or each small group are creating their own policies, creating their own framework, although but for the purpose of achieving the common goal. But at the same time, this will bring a lack of uniformity or lack of similarity or within the operation, unsuitable for the small organizations. Okay. It may be like decentralization may not be so fruitful at the uh, small organization. It is good for the big organization. We have discussed in the very first slide. It will ultimately increase the cost of the operation. The more and more authority you are sharing, means the manager should be like talented enough, or you should be like inculcating some kind of training and development program as well. Okay, so that they will be able to perform their duties properly. So ultimately it will increase the overhead cost. Last one is the external constraint. It means like you are too much entrusting your subordinates, who may not be capable enough to deal with the external factors. All right. So this will ultimately give a new challenge to them to deal with the external factors. What are the external factors we have discussed? Let me write it down for you. Political factor, economical factor, social factor, technological factor. Okay, so these are some of the external factor which could influence the decision, and the a supervisory level may not be capable enough to deal with these kind of the external factors. All right. So with this we have discussed the disadvantages, and the last slide is with respect towards the factors which determine the decentralization or the centralization within the organization. Or we will be discussing what are the key factors which governs that whether the centralization or decentralization will be there within the organization. So very first one is the size of the operation, or the size or the complexity of the organization. If the number of activities is too much, the activities are very much complex, in that situation it will be better to have decentralization. Okay. But if the activities are very much small and everyone knows each other, then centralization will be more appropriate. Second is the history of the organization. History of the organization, with that we mean like if suppose a new company, if the company is very old, okay, but the company at the same time is formed by some some friends or some groups, and the same members is continuing the business. It means they are working for a longer period of time in that business, so they know everything about the business because they have started the business from the zero. Okay, so they will be keeping the authority at the top level. Okay, or we can say centralization will be there within that operation, as compared to an organization where the organization is formed based on some merger or acquisitions. Okay, two companies when they merge together, okay, so it will be a merger and acquisition. So in that situation it will be better to go for decentralization. Okay. Third one is the philosophy of the top management. A manager could be autocratic management. We will be discussing in the leadership part about the style of leadership. Okay, style of leadership will be discussing. The very first one will be the autocratic leader, democratic leader. Now the autocratic leaders are the one who believes that they will be performing all the activity by themselves, and democratic leader, they will be believing that it will be good that they will be entrusting with their subordinates for all the activities. Okay, so the philosophy of the management, if they are believe in the autocratic leadership style, then there will be like centralization will be prevailed. However, if they believe the democratic leadership style, there will be decentralization. Fourth one is the ability of the lower level executive. If the management feels like the supervisory level is very much competent enough to perform all those activities, day-to-day activities, okay, in that situation, decentralization will be there because they are good enough to perform the activities and the role of the top management will be lower. Location of the operation is also one of the key factor. If the location is like the business is operated in different locations, not at one place, decentralization will be there. Importance of the decision making. If the decision is with respect to like the day-to-day decisions or the repetitive decisions, okay, then in that situation decentralization will be there. But if the nature of the decisions is very crucial for the growth of the company, in that situation the centralization will be more appropriate. Controlling technique. If there is a proper controlling techniques, or better you can say the activities of the executives or the subordinates is properly controlled and formulated by the top level managers, and they have the mechanism to control the activities, in that situation decentralization will be more appropriate because they will be aware about what are the different deviation as per the planned way, okay, as compared to if the controlling technique is not so developed, so whatever the fault activities are performed by the subordinates, the manager will not be having the idea about it. So in that situation it will be better to have controlling techniques, or better to reserve all the authority at one place. So with this we have discussed about centralization and decentralization. In this particular module we have get an idea about, we have fundamental knowledge about what is centralization. Centralization is reserving all the authority at one place. And what is decentralization? Decentralization means delegation of authority to the subordinates. We have discussed about the advantages and disadvantages of centralization, as well as the importance and the limitation of the decentralization, along with what are the factors governing the centralization or the decentralization at various organizations. So these are some of the suggested books, you can go through it, and in the upcoming sessions we will be discussing about the structure of the organization. We'll be emphasizing our discussion towards formal and informal organization. That's all for the day. That's all. Thank you so much.